Hey guys, how's it going? So, if you're new to this channel, I'm Marco Musso, and we keep everything pretty much just raw and real. Like, honestly, I just discuss value, tactics, SMMA, business in general, traveling, and I want to talk to you guys about a couple things that have been top of mind for me lately. And I'm currently in Colombia. Only 4 days ago, I was in Dubai at a masterminds where people were doing multi seven figures a year, and it definitely opened up my subconscious and made me think differently about my current situation. And so I want to talk to you guys about a few things. The first is levels to the game. The second thing is access, and the third thing is truly understanding what it takes. So let's just jump right in. So when I first started out my agency, I knew nothing. It was that stage of optimistic delusion, the stages of entrepreneurship. And I'm going to butcher this, but it's like optimistic delusion. You see people making money with it online, you see that it actually works because it does, and you see the lifestyle, people are selling the lifestyle, and that's all true. Like I live that. It's all true. And that was that optimistic delusion. And I was like, oh yeah, let me just cold call for a couple of weeks to a few months. Let me get some clients and I can start traveling. And I didn't really know anything. Actually, I knew nothing about business. I knew nothing about sales, marketing, ads. I knew nothing about this entire space in general. And for some of you guys watching this, you guys might be in the same boat. You know, if you're first starting out, you know completely nothing. And so I went through the stage of optimistic delusion. And then fast forward 3 months later, I've said this multiple times on this channel. I only made a little bit more than $1,000 in my first 3 months of SMMA. And it wasn't enough to be like, yo, this is sick. Let's keep it going. Oh shit, business is so cool. I could travel now. I could leave now. No, that sucks. That was awful. And that optimistic delusion lasted for roughly probably 2 to 3 weeks until I realized how fucking hard it is. And that's exactly why people don't do it. And so from there, I joined my first mentorship 3 months, like 2.5, 3 months in, when I made no progress. I made no progress. I got clients. I churned them. I had no idea what the fuck I was doing. And in the beginning, I said to myself, okay, Marco, you're a relatively aware individual. The best way to predict the future is to look at the past. And so I said to myself, for the past 3 months, if I keep doing it for the next 3 months, what's going to happen? And so it was then and there I realized that you just have to pay money for information and for groups. I didn't know. Like, I didn't know the game. I didn't know that. I thought that in the beginning, paying for friends, what people say online, I thought that was like, yo, this person's an idiot. They just gave someone $5,000 for a course. That's what I thought. As do you guys watching this? I'm sure like we all experienced that in the beginning as well. And after being in this space now for 11 months, I've been in the game for 11 months. That is the only way. Like, high performing people are not going to be around just average people for free. Like they're just not, unless it's a loved one. That's just not how the game works. That's not the truth. And so it was then and there I said to myself, okay, let me join my first mentorship. So I did. It cost about $6,000 at the time. It was pretty much all I had, and so it was scary. I was bartending on the side, and I said to myself, okay, I have to make this work now. And so, lo and behold, it actually works out to be true. Like, you know, courses are a real thing. The information inside are actually legit. And from there, I then went to Dubai with everyone for the first time in March. And I signed my first 3K PIF like that week. And I was like, holy fuck, like this shit works. And another really cool thing that you guys have to experience is proof of concepts. Proof of concept is really all you need to double down. Your first sale, your first paycheck. That's all you need, and all you need to see to be like, wow, this works. Because before that, it's just like delusion, wishing, dreaming. And so from there, I then graduated out of that program. Like most of these mentorships, if you guys aren't in one, they'll only last for 4 to 6 months, and then you either pay to stay in them, or that's it. Afterwards, you just move on, because education is a finite game. Once you learn something new, then it expires essentially once you implement it as well. So that's why it's like, for example, yeah. So exactly, like education is a finite game, right? So once you learn something once, that's it. Like, you don't learn it 2, 3 times. Of course, you remind yourself of what you learned over time, but that's it for the most part. And so fast forward to last week, I then joined the separate masterminds, and these people are pretty much close to the top. Like, there's levels to the game. You have agency owners who are, 0 to 10K a month. They think they know everything and really know nothing. That was once myself. And then you have like everyone from like 20, 30 up until like 3, 4, 500K, which is like a pretty great, pretty big like middle ground. And then you have like huge people at the top like Eddie and others who are running multi 8 figure, multi 9 figure agencies. And that's like the pinnacle of success. That's kind of like what I mean, Iman now is in private equity and, kind of like with Hermosi and acquisition.com, they're just buying a majority share of equity in these companies and then, scaling them and selling for 4, 5, 6, 10x exit, a few years down the line. But there's levels to the game. And I didn't know this at first. Like, if you play sports, for example, it's kind of like sports. You have your town, and then you have your county, and then you have either your districts or step up from that, and then you have state, and then you have the country, or then you have like East Coast, West Coast, like that, and then you have your country, right? So like if you're a wrestler in high school, you go to counties, and then you go to states, and then if you qualify, you can potentially go to nationals, and that's like the levels to the game. And it's the exact same thing with the agency. It's the exact same thing with any business model. And so that's kind of like the in betweens that I was speaking about before, like the 0 to 10K, and then like 20, 30, all the way up to like 500K a month, and then everything else plus, right? Like that's the levels to the game. And I didn't really experience this for the first like 8 to 9 months of the agency, but like these levels will just open your minds. They will just open your subconscious and make you question everything about your life. When I first started, it's so different than being over a Zoom call or over a Google Meet talking to your mentors, but seeing these people in person, shaking their hands and realizing that they're just human. That is the most eye-opening experience. And it's kind of like that famous Steve Jobs video where he was like, your life will change the moment you realize the people who are changing the world are no smarter than you. The people who are at the pinnacle of the status game, the financial game, they are just simply no different than you. They just had, and to my second point, access. They had access to information, they had access to people, they had access to places. And this is what it's about. So this truly is what it's about. It's really about the access game. Like, will your decisions increase your status or not? That's pretty much sales 101 and the bottom line buying experience from the end user. This is exactly from Russell Brunson's Expert Secrets, his first book out of a triage, which is, will this decision increase my status or not? And so what I mean by this is your access is directly correlated to your status. And in the online money making space, it's mostly young men. Like for the most part, it was actually my first time like meeting people, like 35 and up at this masterminds who are in the game. Because like in my mind, it was mostly just young people. But it really just comes down to, guys, like every single decision that you make, will it increase your status or not? That's kind of the subconscious or implicit decision making framework that most people live by. And that's just how the world is. It's baked into our DNA. And that is an uncomfortable truth that people might not like to hear. But it's exactly why we frame it in the benefit of our prospects on sales calls. So this entire game, it's really about joining these groups, getting the right information, staying on the latest cutting edge of tech, and like for example, like Claudebot and what's happening right now recently with automation and just as much leverage as you possibly can. And in addition to that, it's places like the lifestyle you see of people living in cool places, super cool Airbnbs, in private communities, private groups. That's all true. That's what people want. And it's a value thing. Gold is valuable for a reason. It's supply and demand. That's it. And so I've come to realize and accept that my decision making framework is, will these decisions increase my status? Will they benefit me in the goals that I have? Right? Like that's just how everything works. That's it. And a lot of people as well, they might not like to confront this, but this is just again the truth. And so the third point is truly understanding what it takes. Again, when I first started, I was optimistically delusional. I had no idea what it took. And so I I remember for this latest group that I joined, I had an onboarding call with the mentor, and he basically laid out the next 2 to 4 weeks action plan, immediate 72-hour action items and things to do. And he essentially changed my view on the agency game, because this goes back to point one as well, but like where there's levels to the game, and there were unknown unknowns that I didn't even know that were essentially capping me at scale. And I remember sitting there after the 45-minute call and just sitting in silence for like 15 to 20 minutes and saying to myself, like, holy fuck, there's levels to the game. And I was just staring at this mountain of work that had to be done. And that I truly kind of felt and understood what it takes now to actually get to the pinnacle of business and of entrepreneurship. And as I'm progressing along this journey, I start to understand more and more and more what it takes, more and more and more why so few people are at the top, more and more why people at the top have so little tolerance for people at the bottom. And it's just changing my world's view at such a fast pace. And it's kind of it's good because it's similar to success. Like, you pay groups, you pay mentors to shortcut your way to success, to get that blueprint instead of doing everything yourself. So I truly now kind of understand what it takes in this game of business, and how Hermosi said, or I understand now when Hermosi said, typically it could take 3 to 5 years to build something really big. And looking at the work I have in front of me, it's going to be like that for the next 2 years at least. Now, of course, we all do everything in our power to, get ourselves rich and to have the freedom that we want, because freedom is essentially the name of business. Freedom and to make yourself rich, right? Like of course you are starting a business, and one of the benefits is making other people rich, because you're paid in proportion to the value you bring to the marketplace. But yeah, so I hope this video helps you guys kind of understand that there's levels to the game, and when you first start out, you don't know shit. You just don't. You really just don't. And that access is truly everything, because you think about the people who you look up to. What do they have? They have access to connections, to money, and to places that you can't go. And that's what you want. But the great thing is you can get there. It just takes time. And I also found too, being a likable person is really important. If you're just a dislikable person, you're just angry, you're making money, like cool, like you could make 6 figures a year, but people just might not like being around you. So, and the third point is just truly understanding what it takes, and that, like, I'm okay with understanding it's going to take 2 to 3 more years of truly balls to the walls hard work to get to where I want to go. Now, of course, I will be out of operations, in a few short months, and basically the entire process. And the goal was to kind of start working on the business as opposed to in it, right? So that you can either make your agency a cash cow for you, or you can prepare for an exit. Most people end up making it as a cash cow, so that you work 5 to 10 hours a week, and then you can focus on other things, whether it's personal journey, personal spirituality, or if you want to travel the world and just cash flow 50K a month. Like, it comes down to what you want, defining your goals, and don't let anybody else tell you what you should and shouldn't do when it comes to your goals. But do let people tell you what to do when it comes to how to get there. So hope this helps you guys kind of understand the game at large, and understands my experience, and that if you are just starting out watching this, just pay people, get access, implement everything that you're learning. Don't be one of those people that just doesn't do anything. Nobody likes those people. Be relatively likable and be a good human, have pure intentions. Don't be, I mean, I know a lot of people who are kind of unethical in this space, and that's fine, but you want to keep your conscience clear for your own sanity, for when your head hits the pillow at night. But that's that. So I'll see you guys.